What's going on, boys and girls? Welcome back to another Echocalypse video. And the queen is out. Horus is available now. I want to do a couple things here. Number one, I'm going to go ahead and summon with whatever damn tokens I was able to put together, which is not many. You guys can see here. You actually can't see. Pity-wise, I'm at 16 out of 50. And I probably won't get her. But who knows? Luck has been on my side sometimes in this game, so we're going to try that out. Number two, we're going to talk a little bit about her passive and how her strip works. So somebody actually, thank you to this individual, put together a fantastic comment in the Horus video that I created with exactly how the passive works. So I'm going to go ahead and break it down for you guys so everybody understands. So shout out to TexasTim. TexasTim, if you're watching this, I appreciate you, bro. Thank you for putting this comment together because I might not get the character. Obviously, being free to play, we're not going to get every character possible, but hell, we're going to try. And yeah, we're not going to get her. So, I mean, over time, we'll see what happens. We might get enough tokens here to summon. But right now, don't have her. But I do want to talk a little bit about her skill that is going to make a difference for you as a player. And I'm going to explain how it works and why it matters. Okay. And the reason why this needs to be explained, which is unfortunate, is because the game unfortunately treats certain terminology differently. So, for example, let's just take a quick example of terminology that's treated differently. Okay, so if we take a look at where is she? Audrey, where are you, my love? There you are, Audrey, right? If we look at her skill, you can see here it says granting back row allies. Okay, back row allies. Remember the word here is row. Okay, back row, pretty straightforward. You guys would understand. People in the back row would get the buff, right? And then if you look at somebody like Levia, her special actually says another allied row. Okay, again, the word row is being thrown around. You guys can see here, this obviously means the opposite row of where she is. So another allied row. Unfortunately, the translations are a little off. So I'm going to explain to you, thanks to TexasTim and his testing, how this is going to work and how she is going to function as a strip unit. Now, what I'm talking about here specifically is this Falcon Heart passive, okay? At the start of the battle, Horus inflicts strip on the targets in the opposite row, which lasts for the entire battle. Now, you could simply say this. Opposite row would mean if she's in the front row, people in the back row will be stripped, but that's actually not how it works. And again, thank you, TexasTim, for breaking this down and giving us the clarification we need to understand this. And this is going to be very RNG based on how this works. Okay, so here's the clarification. And here's TexasTim's comment. Just to clarify, since the skill description in the games are dog water and everyone's description of the skills doesn't match what I see using the unit in game, I'll say the following. Okay, so for Falcon Heart passive, opposite row for strip is applied to the two enemies directly in front of her. So what that means is it'll be 1, 2. So if she's on the top, it'll be the people that are at the top, right in front of her. So the first line and the second line, okay, that will be affected. So for Falcon Heart's passive, opposite row for strip is applied to the two enemies directly in front of her. By row, the game in this case actually means columns. That's right. It's like an Excel spreadsheet, you know, rows, columns. We understand the difference in the English language. It's a pretty big difference, guys. And this here alone could be a good reason for a lot of people to ask for a refund if they spent. My suggestion is if you thought it was the columns and you got rows, you're getting a little screwed. And I appreciate this because this person is now explaining how this works. Other units like Audrey, which we used, use front back row to mean row of 3. So when you see row in a skill, it means column. Yeah. So it's a little bit weird because in Audrey's case, it actually does mean the row. It means the actual row, back row. In this case, it should say columns. Okay, so for those who are wondering what that means now, I don't know how. Now, here's how I've always seen it. When it said single row, I've always seen it as the first two. And that's what's weird because this should say strip opposite single row. Whenever they've used the word single row, it's always meant the row that's in front of you. So another good example of that is right here, right? If you look, oopsie, right here, dealing magic damage to see this is a row of enemies. That's not true. It's always a single row. She does only a single row. Right here, you guys can see here, single row of enemies. So it's weird that interchangeably they use row and single row to sometimes mean the same thing, and other times it doesn't mean the same thing. So there's that example. Okay, now, so how does it actually work now that we've got that out of the way? Additionally, when it says before her first action, which is what it says, before Horus takes her first action, she absorbs 1 rage from the opposite row, right? Here's what this means. That means before each character in front of her acts. So if she is set to act last in position 6 on the bottom left, then when the enemy in position 3 starts to act is when the rage drain happens. Then again, when the enemy in position 6 acts, she drains again. So if the person, let's just say she's in the first row. So whenever the first character acts and the fourth character acts, her drain instantly activates, okay? So she drains both enemies both times. So as long as the enemy acting has rage to drain. If the enemy acting has no rage, then neither enemy gets drained. Once each enemy is drained once, whether you actually drained anything or not, right? Keep that in mind. Then she will be done draining for that fight. She will not continue to drain every turn. So that's a very, very important thing to note. It's only after the first action, and that is exactly what this means, the first action. So she will not do it after the fact. So thank you again for clarifying that. Finally, by if total rage absorbed is 4 or more. So if you go down here, there's a section here where it says at tier 4, where you start getting this. If the total rage absorbed is 4 or more, she absorbs 1 extra rage. So it's trying to break this down. Finally, but if total rage is what this means, that if either of the enemies in front of her has 4 or more rage at the moment of when the drain activates, so for both times it activates before each enemy acts, then she will drain 2 instead of 1 rage for herself, just from the enemy that has the 4 or more rage. So which is great. So she'll only drain and absorb between 2 and 4 rage at maximum, presuming the drain will happen so long as she's able to act the first turn. Hard to test again, things like freeze and stun. Turn 1, again, the strip rage drain only happens once for each enemy in front of her. So only one time, so this is great. Someone like Aiken, for example, she'll drain 2 versus 1, okay? In content that has multiple waves, she will reapply strip and drain once again to the enemies in every wave, unlike Shahara's, who loses her tails into the next wave. So the timing of the drain happens differently sometimes for reasons I can't understand. For example, if she's in position 4, then she will drain once right away when the enemy acts in 1, and then drains again when she acts, not after enemy 4 acts. So that's a little bit weird. Like what happens when she's in position 6, the second drain happens when the enemy acts after Horus acts, which is completely different. Fortunately, in situations like this, she uses rage for false moon before she absorbs it, so it appears that she won't ever cap on rage if she drains on her action with 6 to 8 rage. So, a mouthful, right? But I want to again thank TexasTim for that incredibly insightful breakdown of how Falcon Heart works, because I think it's very important people understand, number one, that it only affects a single row, opposite of where she is positioned. So if you're 1 and 4, it'll be 1 and 4. If it's 2 and 5, then it's 2 and 5 on the opposing team. If it's 3 and 6, then it's 3 and 6. Okay, you guys heard that it will. If the person has 4 rage or more, it'll strip 2 rage versus 1. If the person only has 1 rage, it'll only take 1. Sometimes she will act and strip rage on her own turn. Sometimes she'll act when it's the enemy's turn, and it always happens before the enemy acts. So the great thing here is she has the ability to stop people from casting. Now, the RNG part of it obviously is going to be based on the positioning of your enemy, which is great though, because you can see usually where the enemy is positioned before you set up your team. So you're going to have to do some adjustments every single time you fight an enemy that has an Aiken or somebody with full rage that you want to strip accordingly, right? All right, guys, this is Payne. Hope you enjoyed the video. I'm going to hopefully try to get a copy of her and then move on. But yeah, so far, so good in terms of her reshuffling of her skills. She's looking like a powerhouse. So enjoy the video. Hope you guys have a great day. Take care.